Hi, this is needlepointers.com, and today I'd like to show you how to take your old ironing board cover that's old and stained and well used and loved and create a new ironing board cover from a piece of decorator fabric. To make this project, you'll need your old ironing board cover to use as a template. You'll also need some decorator fabric. This is some fabric that was purchased at Joann's in their home decorator section. It can be outdoor fabric or just curtain heavier fabric works better, so it will hold up. You also need some cotton twine or some other kind of cording that will go around the outside, and you'll use it to tie your new ironing board cover to your ironing board and hold it in place. The last thing you'll also need is double fold bias tape. And you need the double fold tape so that you can put it right around the edge and not have to do any finishing and just sew it on. It is used to hold the cording around the outside. I've laid my fabric on the floor, and we've purchased 2 yards of the fabric because we purchased 1.5 yards previously, and it wasn't quite long enough for the whole ironing board cover. The first step is to make a template. So what I'm going to do is, this ironing board cover has a cording through it. And you could reuse your cording if you have it in your current one. So I've released all the cording and flattened this out entirely, and I'm laying it onto the new fabric. This will become our template for the new ironing board cover. Now when I made mine, I added about 1 inch around the outside, and my ironing board cover was different than this one, where it had a pocket along the top here. And so for that portion, I had to flatten it out, and then I had to add even more around the top edge because we wanted it to be able to wrap around. So as you can see, I've put a marking with a pen around about 1 inch larger than my old ironing board cover. Next, I'm going to just cut along this line to cut it out. Okay, I have it all cut out. And next we're going to put the double fold bias tape around the outside. Starting along one of the side edges, you put the tape around the raw edge that you cut of your new ironing board cover. I put it all the way up so that the edge comes into the fold. And then I'm going to put some pins around to hold it in place. Okay, so then at the corner, you'll have to kind of ease it around the corner, and you might get some a little bit of gathering in there. But this is going to all be underneath your ironing board anyway, so it doesn't have to be exactly flat. So that's kind of how I do the corner. If you're interested in seeing more photos or to get more information on the supplies you need and the amounts, please click the iCard or the link in the description of the video to go to our website, needlepointers.com. On our website we have a full photo tutorial that will show you how to make this project. I forgot to say earlier, but we need 2 packages of the double fold bias tape to complete this project. One is not quite enough to get around the whole ironing board cover. So right now I'm coming up to the end of where my first set of my first length of ironing of the bias tape is ending, and I want to show you what I'm doing to join them. So I'm going to run the cording through the bias tape the same direction as I'm putting through the bias tape, yeah, the same direction that I'm pinning it on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just overlap this a bit and start the next one. The important thing is that when you're running the cording through, you want to go in this direction so that when you hit this point, your cording doesn't get caught on and will continue to go through. If you go the opposite direction, it might be harder to get through this little section with your cording, but it can be done anyway if you forget. So I'm going to continue pinning the rest of this on here, and I'll be back in a few minutes. So now I'm coming up to where I started, and what I want to do at this point in time, I'm going to cut this and I'm going to leave a little gap. And that's because when we run the cording through, we need to have a place to tie the two ends, the two ends of the cord together to cinch it down. When I made my first one, I overlapped it, thinking I wanted to do that. But then when I went to tie it, it made it more difficult because there was no gap there. And that small gap should be fine. It's going to be that small gap should be fine. It's going to be underneath your ironing board, so you won't see it. So now I have it all pinned. The next step is to sew a stitching to hold the bias tape together all the way around, about an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch from the edge of the bias tape, this edge. So I'm at my machine, and with a normal stitch I'm going to start here and stitch all the way around. When we get to the corners, we'll want to go a little bit slower and work our way around. And then just keep going all the way around. So I've sewn the bias tape binding all the way around, and I have this starting point. The next step is to put the cording through the casing that we just made. The easiest way to do this is to take a pin and to hook it onto your cording, and then you insert the pin into the casing and you work it through by pushing, push, and then pull the fabric. So you just push it through. And we'll continue to do this all the way around until it comes out the other end. So now I've threaded the cording through all the way around, and I left plenty of extra cording here on the ends because I want to pull this together and be able to tie it, and I want to make sure I don't run out. The next step will be to put it on to your ironing board. Now my original ironing board cover had a padding built into it. When I made this one, of course it didn't have a padding. So what I did was I used some old towels and I cut them to be the size of my ironing board. And then I put them underneath. So I'll show you that. So as you can see here, I have a double layer of toweling that what I did was I took a large bath sheet size towel and I folded it in half, and then I laid it across my ironing board, and it just happens to fit, just wrap around a little bit on each side. At the other end, where the top of the ironing board I traced my ironing board, laying it on top of the towel, upside down, and I traced around the outside, and I cut the towel to match. So here you can see I have the towel over top of my whole ironing board, cut to match. And then once you have it on here, you pull the cording, and it will cinch it down together to hold it on there nice and tight, and then you can tie either a bow or a knot into the cording. So now I've put the ironing board cover on the ironing board, and let me just show the underneath. So on the back you can see that it's pulled and cinched up, and then there's just the knot where I tied it here. I'm going to cut most of this off. I didn't cut it off yet. So this cover I was making for my mom. I made the one for myself that I showed in the beginning of the video. And I'm really happy how it turned out, and it looks much more stylish than my old one that was dirty, and it wasn't my favorite fabric either. You can keep up with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel and by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, or Google+. Visit our website by clicking the iCard to find the links to follow us. If you're on Pinterest, pin our projects to your wall. This is a great way to keep track of your favorite projects. Also, if you have a blog or some other website that you could put a link to our projects, that would be wonderful. If you could link to our projects pages on our website, needlepointers.com, we would really appreciate it, and we could even provide backlinks to your blog. Visit our website, needlepointers.com, to find lots of other sewing projects and tutorials.